Hi there, and it's hi from Martin and hi from me, and we're going to go through 95 Dukinfield Road, an interesting property with some compromises, but interesting. So the first thing I'm going to do is share screen and we'll do condition assessment. We had a bit of a situation with this where the viewer couldn't video and photograph a lot of stuff on the inside. But she called me, which was helpful, and we went through it, and she gave me a kind of description of it, which has been very helpful. So the property is kind of unusual in that it's got this extra land, and I'll show you how this works. So you've got the house. Where is it? Here. This is the plot here. You got the house, you got the plot, and then you got a gap here. And the house and the plot, same ownership. And the car parking is at the back and it's not gated. It would be good if it was gated, but it's not. That's okay. And it's pretty quiet. And when the photographs were taken, there were children playing outside in the back area. So it's kind of like just a quiet little spot. And we can see here it overlooks industrial. Is the industrial a problem? I don't know. It is.
When I check, yeah, I noticed that because of
it's light industrial.
Yeah, and
Manupack. What's Manupack do? It's a corporate office. What is Manupack? I don't know. We'll find out. It's some product or other. I presume it's something like some kind of.
No, you have the looking for
packaging.
Perfect, yeah.
Fine.
So
it's fine. It's just not. It's not a problem. What's a problem is if you've got a meat processing plant or something like that. But this isn't such an issue. The other issue is you got this, but this is quite a slow road. It's got a speed camera here, so that does keep the speed down. So that's a good thing. So it's probably fairly quiet, medium volumes of traffic.
Yeah, and also
not a huge issue.
Yeah, private parking backyard is really always nice. Better
so we got
than
the parking. Yeah, it's parking for 2 cars as well, which is also a good thing. All right, getting back into the condition stuff, it is reasonable. And the problem we've got is that because it's a rented property, the owner didn't want, or the owner of the property didn't want, the estate agent, more to the point, didn't want the owners or the tenants' stuff. Didn't want the tenants' stuff to be photographed, and therefore excuse me, just filling up my glass. But therefore we couldn't get great pictures. But I've got enough plus a description to make an assessment of this. The fire surround is obviously new, and it looks like it's a gas fireplace, which is interesting. Kitchen is probably 15 years old, something like that. This is the boiler in the corner. That needs replacing at some point fairly soon. Very high ceilings, hinges going here. This is your typical like oldish kitchen that needs replacing at some point, but it's a tenanted property. And therefore, as you probably know, you don't need to do anything until the tenant complains or they leave. The tenant, by the way, is possibly a single mother with a child, according to the viewer who gave me a description of what's going on. Now, this isn't necessarily a sign of damp. It's just you get this wallpaper peeling when it's near a radiator because hot and cold, basically. And bedroom looks okay. This property has had a deep renovation and it's very validated by the other pictures. What I mean by that is all the plaster and lath was ripped out at some point in its life and plasterboard installed. Whenever you don't see coving, that's a thing. So this property was originally built as a slightly better than average. The reason I know this is because you've got the fancy stone lintels, you've got some fancy stuff here. if this was an ultra economy property, you just wouldn't have that. So therefore it's got cornicing, and if we go back into here, I wonder if this is original cornicing. It might be. We'll have a look in a minute. So these are the pictures. It's got fairly cheap laminate flooring. So. Now, here are the pictures. A relatively modern gas thing, and this is a burglar alarm. This is the main fuse coming in. There we are. That's decent modern fuse board. It's probably no more than 10 years old or younger. It's had a inspection. That's great, and it's all looking modern. This is that boiler. It will need replacement at some point. Now, what's interesting about this is when you do a close-up of the ceiling, you can see that the ceiling is in fairly poor condition, but I think it's probably okay. This is original plasterwork. I think you can see it's being kind of hacked about a little bit. It's okay. This is not the kind of property that, how do I put it? It's got decent wood flooring, which is in reasonable condition. Is that laminate? I think it's a laminate. It's hard to tell. Bit of undulation here, but basically it's in reasonable condition. I think this is the original coving, I think. No, I don't. And the reason I think that is because it's not too deeply recessed. I think it's retrofit. And the other reason I think that is because that's a fairly modern looking ceiling rose. And if it was original Victorian, it just wouldn't be in such good condition. And here we have the ceiling here. I suspect it's modern-ish, like 50 years old, something like that. And another reason I think it's had a deep renovation, that crack there is running straight along. So that's a plasterboard crack. It's the basically 2 sheets of plasterboard. There's our laminate flooring, and it's gone at the corner here. It's fairly cheap. It's just, it got wet at some point. So overall, it's okay condition-wise. It's got the cement render here. Brickwork is okay. Pointing is decent. Quality of bricks is so-so. You can see the wallpaper peeling here, not a huge issue. That is the mum, I suspect. So what I don't know is whether that's a couple or whether she's on her own. And we do have an issue with the roof. So the problem we've got is that it's an original roof, and you can see it's slightly dipped here. Now I'll zoom back out and we'll find the other picture. Here we go.
They said that it doesn't have insulation, assume, but that doesn't mean.
We don't know because we don't know if the.
But can you see under the roof like a white? That looks like a new.
Yeah, that fascia board looks like it's been improved. The gutter is dipping down at the very end, but I think it's okay. This is a bit weird. So you have this undulation here. If you look at these slates, so what you got here is you got these slates sitting flush, and then you got these ones kind of bowing out a little bit. You've got lots of cracked slates all over the place. This one's cracked, and you got this tingling. It's where the slate comes out. Someone nails in a strip of aluminium, and then they slot the slate back in, curl the slate back, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Too many tingles. This is a roof that will need doing in the next 15 years. So you could probably get away with it for now, but it's just a matter of when it gives up and causes problems. Now, one other curious thing about this property is that there's no chimney stack on it, if you notice. And the other thing is the position of this chimney stack. It's kind of in the middle of the house, which is weird because generally the chimney stack should be at the edge. That's odd. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. Let's just have a quick look at the Google Maps once again. It's an oddly positioned chimney stack, considering that the border of the property is here and you got that there. I don't quite know what's going on with that. If we look at this 3D, and we just rotate this around, you can see you've got the border here. Oh, maybe it's just the way the render is done and there's something funny going. It's just wider than it looks. Okay, fine. Yeah. It's not an issue. Okay. Then the actual property, some odd things going on with the rendering, but actually the house is that wide, not that wide. I don't really understand that. It's let me just go back into this. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some weird stuff with the freehold, because this doesn't make sense to me in a weird way. You've got this border here. Clearly there's that, and then you've got the kitchen here. So the actual interior of the house is somewhere, it should be about here, but you got this going on. So I don't understand that. That's strange. This is where, unless, when was the property last sold? Do you know, Martin? Oh, let's have a look. I should be able to find out from this.
No, 2007.
Okay. It was probably sorted out back then. There's going to be some weirdnesses with the title deed, but I assume it was sorted out only because this was a relatively modern sale. If this property had not been sold in the last 50 years or something like that, maybe there'd be an issue, but I assume that it's sorted out. Okay, so let's assume there isn't a problem. Now, let's look at the capital growth and a few of the other lovely things that we need to keep an eye on. And overall, the capital growth around here is relatively weak, which is a relative issue. So this property works if it's got a ton of capital gain, potential gain, but it doesn't. And the reason for this is the demographics aren't great around here. There's a lot of local authority and it's a relatively poor area. And this is also demonstrated by the kind of tenant that this property has. So this is the good part, this is the bad part. These properties are slightly compromised. They're slightly closer to the bad part, just saying. And
but you can see a lot of new builds down. So
yeah, so further south it's good. Further north, less good. But anyway, okay, that's fine. And let's just dig into the growth story a little bit more. So it has not grown significantly over the last few years. It had a big growth spurt 2003 to 8. So in the last boom, it grew. It crashed fairly hard. It hasn't got to the same levels as it had in 2008, which isn't a great sign. And the way I would look at this is if this was below the 2008 inflation adjusted terms, because obviously you've got to think about inflation adjusted. So median house price was 120 in 2008. It's 145 now. You go nominally, yeah, you're making money. But when you adjust for inflation, it's not really done that well. If the current growth was flying, then I would say, okay, it's got some headroom in it, but it's not flying. It's relatively weak. And this is a relatively compromised property. It will go up in value over time, but it has its issues. It's got its compromises. So do I think it'll fly in the future? Yeah, it'll go up in value. I just don't think it's going to fly like uncompromised areas, like, for example, a nice 3-bed semi in an area with moderate to lowish local authority housing, for example, this kind of thing. These nice modern houses, they'll do well.
Yeah, but the yield will not work with them. So
yeah, exactly. So it's just it's a bit so. All right. Overall, it's strong on growth from a kind of national level. It's just this area, this house, bit compromised. It's a bit of an issue. Martin, over to you.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. So when you zoom out, sorry, point, I was checking the factory. When you zoom out, it's like not really far away from Manchester. If you want to go to Manchester, you will need around 28 minutes, which is really nice. So I want to add, you have a train station here, and also you have a train stop here. So basically you can choose which one do you want, but this is to go in the other direction. So if you want to Manchester, you need to go here. So about the location when you close, as we said, it's a little bit compromised just because, but it's not super noisy. And if the entrance was here next to the houses and trucks passing by or cars, then yes, but the entrance is here and the trucks going there, so you will not have truck noise.
Well, you can have some going down the Dukinfield Road, but it is a 30-mile-an-hour zone, so the traffic isn't going to be that noisy.
Yeah. So, yep, you have a lot of schools around. You have a good schools. You have a lot of new builds as well. So basically, based on that, it will rent really quick. The only issue, you don't have a supermarket, a large supermarket nearby. You have small stores on the street. And I want to add all of these houses, but you can see all of them are new. This is a new build. This is new builds. This is new builds. This is new builds. So basically, this is like 5-10 years ago built, all this neighborhood. So basically, this is like the worst house in the best area. So like this is like a semi-attached, but new, not really new, 50-60 years old. But this is really old terrace houses, and all around is this is new. This is all coming new.
Yeah. So with areas like this, ideally you would have a 3-bed semi, because that's the kind of property that you expect in these kind of areas.
Yeah. So basically, it's interesting property, but not the best one. But it's still good. I want to talk about the EPC. EPC is not really nice. It's that's like a little bit worried me, and I will tell you why. But it can be made nice. The walls should be okay. The roof is not good, as Nick said, and plus needs insulation. Also, you need to improve the lighting, but this is really like cheap to make it, and hot water. So when I will go down, I will tell you what you need to do. You just need cavity wall insulation. I will not bother about that. Hot water cylinder insulation, that's like 30 pounds. You need low lighting. You can increase that. You can increase hot water cylinder. It's around 400, 300 pounds. Also, you can heating control, replace the boiler. And you need to add solar panels if you want to reach EPC C, or what you need to do is put insulation on the walls outside and plus put insulation on the roof. So yep, and I will speak about the risk of this is the risk of coal mining. As you can see, the property, basically your property is here. When you zoom out, you don't have any risk. The risks are here on this patch here. So basically your this properties, you have some here and here. So basically it's far away, enough far away, because from here till here you have 73 meters, and at least need to be 15 meters away, and you're more than 15 meters. So I will not be bothered about the coal mining issue. When you go to the floating, as you can see, wait, this is not the postal, what I'm searching for. I will just check now. When we will check the postal for flood risk, is number 95. Medium risk, I will show you why. It's not to worry, because it's the main street, it's slip, it's bigger road, that's why they said but basically there is no any issue. And as you can see on the street level, the street is really long, and usually on the high street you have more like if it's low, you have more risk for flooding. If it was the risk, if it was from the sea and rivers, then yes, but surface water I will not bother if it's medium risk. So that's my and I will go for the comparables.
By the way, just on condition, it has had damp proofing done. So on the satellite pictures, the Google Maps pictures, the Street View ones, you can see the drill holes on the foundation. Yeah. You can see them there.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think it's okay. It's had a lot of extensive renovation. It's just that roof isn't great.
Yeah. So basically, I felt like it's 5K renovation, but it will go 10, maybe 12.
Well, the roofs are expensive. So.
But if you make the whole new roof, then it's 20K maybe.
Yeah, exactly. At least 10,000 to re-roof.
Yeah. So if you need to make all the roof, but I don't know, this is a little bit tricky where you will need to wait for survey report.
I think there is probably not an issue with the roof, because that roof is 100 and something years old now. And if it was sold in 2007, if there was a serious problem with it, then it wouldn't have been sold in 2007, or somebody would have redone the roof. I think the roof is stable. I just think it's old and will just always give some issues, and probably doesn't have underfelt either. So this is where you have a waterproof layer underneath the slates. If a slate slips and water comes in, it just hits the waterproof layer and drains out. So it's like a risk mitigation thing, but old roofs don't have this. So when there is a hole in the roof, you got yourself a leak.
Yeah, so it's a little bit risky property, but based on the sellings, as you can see, from 150, asking price 150, 140, 130, 155, 150, 135, the asking 140, 150, 130, 120, 150, 170. I think if you make it really nice, it at least will sell for 160. I mean 170, sorry.
Yeah, but you're in that location.
Yeah, so it's a nice, but not the best one, honestly. Let's score it.
Let's do rents and yields and things.
Yeah, so I think the rent, what it will be really good. It will rent for 75. A lot of properties are renting for that. So on 725, 12, and if you buy, the asking price is 140. But you need to put, like, let's say like 725, and you bought it for 150, and you spend 15K to renovate, let's say. So 150 plus 15, so 165. Everything costs you 5.3, which is bad. And you have a lot of stuff to do. So basically, if you can take it for 143, 145, the property will really works. Other way, no, because of the roof. And we didn't know about the roof until we don't have the report.
Shall I share a screen and we'll do some scores on the doors, as they say. And here we are. Okay, so on condition, I give it a 3.25. I think it's got I'm going to go even lower than that, because that roof is a problem. But saying that, it already has been renovated extensively at some point, so it's okay. But the issue with a property like this is that you do a huge renovation, you're not necessarily going to see the money back because of that location, that compromised location.
Yeah.
Okay.
Location is 4.
Well, you say that. It depends how you look at it. If you say it's a quiet road and all that kind of stuff, parking outside the house, there is parking. It's the back of the house. I would give it a 3.5. So in some senses, it's a very good location because it's close to public transport, easy for central Manchester, but it's on that road. So what would you give it?
I said 4, just because if the location wasn't compromised, I really like because it's all over the new builds.
All right.
So
well, let's say 3.75, should we?
yeah, yeah.
So I think
just,
the road brings it down, but the new build proves that it's a very good area.
Yeah, but maybe we can increase this in area. So maybe 3.5.
Exactly. So let's say the location isn't great, but the area is good.
But, yeah, it's good. It's 4.25. Yeah, 22. Yeah, it's okay.
Crime is fine, and demographics on the lower end.
But we don't have the data for the newest build, so I think it must be good.
Yeah, you're right. It's more like a 3.75.
I think even more. In the new builds, you have really nice people. So
right, we'll go for 4.
Yeah.
Capital growth, not actually that hot, relatively speaking.
3.7, I think.
Yeah, it's just a little bit weak. And the other issue is that if you have the worst property in a great area, then it's not really that good. I mean, people go, well, location, buy the worst property in the best area and all of that. And it kind of works where you have really premium properties, and the worst property in the best area is still actually quite a nice property. This isn't actually an especially great area. It's all semi-detached houses. There's no really premium property around there. And therefore, the worst property in the best area would have to at least be in a quiet little corner somewhere, and it's not. So that's why it's not going to win on growth, because it's going to be the one that just people buy it. People buy everything else except that one, if that makes sense. Sell time, it'll sell eventually. Price, I think it's a little bit.
Because of the roof, 3.5.
Yeah. And the rent time, it'll rent. But if that is the tenant that the Weber thinks it is, i.e. it's a single mum, we don't know. We don't know if it's a couple or a single person. But whoever it is, I guess they got a couple of quid. That's a leased car. You know, it's a relatively modern car. I'm going to assume it's a couple, because it would be tough for a single mum to run a property like that. So it'll rent out to decent people. And not that if you're single, you're not decent, but you'd be economically challenged if you were on your own. So she's probably lovely. It's just that to run a house like that, you'd be economically challenged unless you're very, lucratively employed or whatever. So anyway, red time, will it rent easily? Will it rent to good people? Kind of. Yield.
It's 3.7. It's not the best.
This is not a great score. Sadly, we had this with another property, the one in Stalybridge as well. It just sometimes things are let down a little bit by fundamentals.
Yeah, because if the roof was good, then everything will be better with the property, because it's a little bit risky because you need to spend 10-15K more. And I know that the agent will not accept lower than the asking price. If you can take it for like 5K lower than the asking price, then the property will work really nice. But I know that they will not sell it for that price. So
yeah, and there's probably some odd things going on with the property with this thing. With the way that the next door is rented the property. I just don't understand that. I'll show you once more, and wherever the thing is there. This business here, it's very strange. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense. So you've got the interior here, So you must have the actual interior border here, yet you've got this oddity here with that border there. It's odd. I don't understand. And the problem I have with this is it's just more risk. Now, thing is, it can all be revealed when you look at the title deeds, the original title deeds, but then you've got to spend some money doing all that. And do you really want to? So, okay. There it is. I think my final take on it is it's so-so on the capital growth, so-so on the location. If it was closer to the station, I think it would work better. Yeah. It's just, you know, I have a phrase which is now old because I've used it for a long time, which is if it's a maybe, it's a no.
No.
And it's a maybe for me.
For me, I want to say no. It's not maybe because of the roof, because extra cost. If it costs extra roof for 20K, then nothing will work with this, especially the yield. So
yeah,
it's a no for me.
The trick with these old houses is like buying old cars where somebody else has done all the maintenance and all the repair, and then you can enjoy the property. So what I'm always looking for in these old Victorian houses is whether the renovation has been extensive and whether somebody else has borne the cost of this in the last 50 years. If so, great.
Yeah. So
you don't have to spend that money. But this property, you might have to spend some money on it.
Yeah, I wanted to add, because I was thinking that the renovation will be around 5, maybe 7K, and that will give you around 6% field, or 5.8. But now you need to spend like 10-15K more than the maybe around 20-25K for renovation, then the yield will drop. And the location is compromised just because the location was a little bit compromised and just because the yield was higher. So I said, okay, location is not that compromised, the yield can work. So, but just because of it's needed more work and the yield will not work. So basically it's no for me, honestly, honest answer. So
yeah, it's the roof is the tipping point, really. It might get a good yield, but you can get good yield from a building that isn't at risk of you know, slates coming off and water leaks, because big water leaks are catastrophic. And I can just see this where maybe there's a big hailstorm or something like that, and load more slates get cracked, and then you have rainstorm, bloody thing leaks, and then it's just aggravation. So yes, there it is. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.